Welcome to the Split Coast tutorial on creating shadow boxes. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about creating shadow boxes, and I'm going to be using the Daily Windows design cube for this. And here I've got all of my supplies laid out and ready to go. Okay, the first thing that I'm going to do is kind of just show you a little bit about the pieces that I've got. You want to pick a theme when you're working with a shadow box, and I've gone ahead and created a lighthouse or sort of an ocean theme going. I've got some background paper that I'm going to be using. And then I've also created a little mini book that has all of my photos that I want to showcase, that has different photos of different lighthouses and beach scenes and things like that. Don't be afraid to actually make some of your own elements besides the found object elements and the store-bought elements for your shadow box. Okay, let's get started. When I create a shadow box, it's all about depth. And these design cubes are really great. They've got 2 inches to work with. And so I like to start with a background layer and add depth by adding different layers forward from that. So with the image that I've got of my lighthouse, I've printed that onto some fabric, and I've mounted it onto a black sheet of cardstock as sort of a frame. And now I'm adding some foam tape to the back to stick it up to make it pop off of that background just a hair. Okay, so this is going to be my first layer of depth. So I'm going to attach that to my background, and remember it's sticking up just a little bit. Then I'm going to actually go ahead and take the same image that I've printed off on some more fabric, and I've actually cut out just the lighthouse portion of it. Then I want that portion to pop out even more, so I've mounted that on black, and I'm going to again use some foam tape to pop that up, give it some dimension. Now if you want more dimension, if you want it to stick out even further, you can use wood blocks, you can cut clear straws to different lengths and use those, or even use 2 or 3 layers of that foam tape. And you're just going to stick that over the top, and it just gives it that silhouette effect, makes it pop up just a little bit more. Okay, the next element that I have is a stamped image that I thought worked really well with this seaside theme, lighthouse theme, seashells. It's a stamped image, and I'm actually going to create depth within that stamped image by doing sort of a paper piercing technique, or paper piecing technique. What I've done is I've stamped an image multiple times and I've colored it in, and then on one image I left whole, and on some of the other images I've actually cut out bits and pieces, different elements from that collaged stamp, and I've put foam tape on the back, and now I'm just attaching them to the base, the original piece. Now on that first layer I had just one piece of foam tape, so they're sticking up but not a lot. On these last pieces I've actually used 2 layers of foam tape, so they're sticking up even further. So it creates depth within its own right. So when I put that into my shadow box, I've got even more depth, which remember is the name of the game. Okay, I like to have things sticking outside of my shadow boxes, so I'm actually going to be placing this image over here on the side. I've got some water bottles full of water from various places I've visited. I've got that photo album book that I've created, and I've also got some seashells that I'm going to be putting in, and some sand. And so the next thing I do is just sort of start building from the ground up and from the back forward. Okay, for my adhesive for my sand, I'm actually going to be using this texture paste, and I'm spreading it on just like frosting. I know you can't really see it with my head in the way there, but I'm going to spread it on so it gives it some texture, and it also creates an adhesive. So I just sprinkle my sand over the top and shake off the excess, and then when it dries, the sand sticks to it, and it has created some texture. It's a lot of fun to use in your shadow boxes. And then from here on out, I just sort of start attaching or placing all of my various elements. So I've attached my stamped image. Now I'm going to be attaching these glass bottles with water in them. And again, the texture paste is going to act as an adhesive, but if you have an object that's a little bit heavier, a nice adhesive to use is E6000. It's industrial strength, it's self-leveling, it's really wonderful. So I'm actually just putting a little dab on the bottom of these bottles, setting the bottles in, and then I'm going to build my shadow box by adding shells. And a lot of these things I've actually pre-placed, so I've already decided which ones I'm going to use where and how they're actually going to fit in before I actually glue them down. That's really key. Don't glue anything down until you know exactly where it's going to be placed. Okay, so lastly, I'm going to add my book. Now, I don't want my book to be stuck. I want to be able to remove it. And so the texture paste right now is still wet, so if I added it, it would stick. So I'll wait until the texture paste dries, and then I'll just tuck my book in there. But when I did this, I actually noticed that I've got this large open space in the back that I don't like. So I've created another layer where I've taken some acetate or a window sheet, and I've written a sentiment on it. And I'm actually going to place that in the back. I'm going to tuck it behind some of the layers. Now, it's really important with layers to think about how you're going to hide the adhesive, especially on see-through layers like this. So I've got some double-sided tape on the back, but I hid it by putting that line of hemp right around it. Okay, so I tuck it back behind all of my other parts, being very careful not to tip anything over. And then I'm much happier with the results. And so here it is, almost finished, my shadow box. And once that modeling paste dries, then I'm going to go ahead and stick my book in. And so that piece is going to be removable. So now when people look at my shadow box, they not only see the shadow box, but I've got this little photo album that people can look at and enjoy. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today and sharing this fun technique with me.